Hello and welcome to UK Gaming Network. I'm Brian, also known as UK Gen Zoidberg, and this is Best 10, where I offer up my favourite games to fit a selected theme. This is the third part of my Coverdisk mini-series, this time looking at full games that came on Coverdisks. Everyone likes getting something for free, especially games, and when those games haven't been available anywhere else, even better. Some of the games in this video were intended for a full retail release and somehow ended up slipping through the cracks, whereas others were available through public domain libraries. What they all have in common though is that a cover disc is the first place where I got to play them. As always, the 10 games featured in this video are only my personal opinion, and there probably are going to be some games that you got on a cover disc that you think I should have included. Please feel free to let me know in the comments what those games are. Now though, let's kick off my countdown with my number 10. Borrowing ideas from other games is the cornerstone of the gaming industry, but when does it become too much? Blitz Bombers was produced by a small team called Leading Edge, and the game was previewed in numerous magazines and even had demos given away. When the game was 99% complete though, Hudson Soft got wind of it, and decided that it was similar enough to Bomberman to require legal action. Without the funds to fight, the developers stopped what they were doing and the game never got released. After a couple of years though, they decided to give it away, exactly as it was, on a cover disc from Amiga format. Play it for yourself and decide. I personally think that there are enough new ideas in this to make it distinct, and maybe there wouldn't have been a problem if the characters looked a bit different.
Flamer! Yes! Flamer! Flamer!
The original arcade pool from Team 17 is a highly addictive, supremely playable release, so you'd expect a snooker-based spin-off to be the same. Sadly, it's not quite as good as I hoped. It still has the same simple-to-grasp mouse controls, so just about anyone can play it, and it's super slick to look at. I just don't think it works as well with the need for a larger table with smaller balls and pockets. Lining up shots was something that I never had an issue with in arcade pool, but here it's frustratingly difficult without a lot of practice. The fact that it was given away free on a cover disc though, from CU Amiga in July 1995, made it easier to forgive such issues, and it's a nice companion piece to the original. If you played No Second Prize, then you'll already be aware of how incredibly smooth Thalian's 3D engine was. I always wondered why we didn't get more games from them that used it though, and it turns out that we did, just not in the UK. Trex Warrior was a full commercial release in 1991, but for some reason it never came out here. In 1993, The One magazine featured a profile of the developer where the game was mentioned, and they claimed that they had put a lot of effort into the playability. The following issue they put the game on their cover disc. It's a fast, smooth, arena-based 3D shooter with responsive mouse controls and a nice selection of enemy types, but one that I found to be a little bit limited. I'd have been disappointed with it as a full price release, but it made for a great cover disc. I remember getting the original Alien Bash with the One Amiga in 1993 and not being particularly impressed. To say that the sequel, which arrived courtesy of Amiga format 2 years later, took me by surprise would be a major understatement. The visuals are clearly inspired by the Chaos engine, but that doesn't make them any less impressive, and there are lots of neat little effects throughout. The gameplay is a little basic, but still very enjoyable, and they included a nice choice of control methods. Each one has its own particular strengths and weaknesses, but you should be able to find your own preference. As public domain games go, this is very high quality. All it's really missing is level passwords and a 2-player mode. It may have been developed as a bit of a joke, but the fact is, Sensible Trainspotting is a really charming arcade game in its own right. You literally click on numbers in boxes as the trains pass by the top of the screen, with the challenge coming from a ticking clock and the fact that the numbers can be obscured by other trains and parts of the scenery. It starts off very simple, perhaps too simple, but after only a few levels the numbers you're looking for get much more complicated and the amount that you need to find increases. It's maddeningly addictive once it gets going, trust me, and further proof that there's no developer quite like Sensible Software. Another game that was set for full retail release, only to be pulled at the last minute, was TFX from Digital Image Design, makers of Robocop 3 and F-29 Retaliator. I'm not the biggest fan of flight simulators, but even I can tell that this one was a bit special. The trouble was, it came very late in the Amiga's life, and the hardware requirements were pretty steep to get the game running in a satisfactory manner. In the Amiga Power review, the game scored 85% if running on an A4000, but just 62 on a standard A1200. 2 years after the planned release though, the game finally appeared on a cover-mounted CD with CU Amiga, and they dedicated a sizable chunk of that issue to the game and how to play it. If you want to play it today, it's fully included on the Amiga Game Selector. Public domain libraries were a good source of multiplayer-only games over the years, but none would get loaded up more often than Tanks from Gary Roberts. When it came to games that me and my brother would play against each other, this would sit happily alongside Kickoff 2, Speedball 2 and Lotus. The reason it's so good is the simplicity. Both players are on a level playing field, simply take out your opponent's tank before they get yours. And because the landscape is randomly generated, there's no end to the fun that you can have. There are options for extra hazards or stronger wind, but I found it to be less enjoyable with any of these turned on. I've heard many people say that they like the similar gameplay of Scorched Tanks more than this, but I've always preferred this game. The story of Tennis Champs is almost as good as the game itself. Programmer Elton Bird made the game using Amos, with his brother Elliot providing the graphics, and he sent it to Amiga format for them to review on their public domain section. Impressed with what they saw, they passed it to Amiga Power for the inclusion on their Coverdisk. Not only that, they gave it to Audiogenic as well, who opted to publish it for a full retail release as long as Bird rewrote the game in Blitz Basic. This meant that we got two great tennis games in the space of just a few short months, essentially giving Amiga owners their own versions of Namco's Smash Tennis, and one which made the excellent gameplay much more important than realism. The only reason that Gravity Force 2 sits higher in this video than Tanks is due to the sheer number of levels and play options that it has. This takes the style of gameplay from Thrust and challenges 2 players to a deathmatch. There's no single player mode, but you won't care, because you and a friend will be having so much fun. It was first given away with Amiga Power in 1994, and they liked it so much that they placed it at number 2 on their top 100. And then they gave away the enhanced version called Gravity Power. While it's excellent stuff, saying it's the second best Amiga game ever is probably a bit much. If you're a modern Amiga gamer, you probably also picked up the latest version that was given away with Amiga Addict issue 42 earlier this year.
Bingo! 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 Bingo!
Let me be clear on one thing. I think Pang is an excellent game and a great Amiga arcade conversion. The only reason that I don't talk about it much on this channel is because of super obliteration. Author David Papworth had a knack for making great PD arcade games, and most of them ended up on Coverdisks at one time or another. This is his greatest achievement though, a game that takes the basic gameplay of the arcade classic and adds a small twist of Turrican. There are multiple control methods to choose from, supporting single or 2-button joysticks, and they all work superbly well. I'd have honestly been happy to buy this at full price. If you're a fan of Pang, you simply have to play it. So those were my picks for the best 10 full games that I got from Coverdisks. How many of them have you played, and do you agree with my choices? Maybe there's a game that you remember getting with the magazine that you think I should have included instead. Over on our Discord, we have a section where members can suggest games and subjects for us to cover on the channel. So if there's something that you're desperate for us to talk about, hit the link in the description and tell us. You'll also find details of how you can become a channel VIP and watch our videos early for just £1.99 a month. A full playlist of previous episodes in this series should be on screen now if you've missed any. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, happy retro gaming everybody. Bye for now.